For this week, we are going to discuss multiplication of radicals. For our first case, we are going to multiply monomials containing radical expressions with the same index. And here are the steps that we need to follow. First is we're going to multiply the terms before the radicals and the terms under the radical sign. Then after that, we are going to simplify the result if necessary. First example, 2 square root of 3 times 4 square root of 15. For our first step, we are going to multiply the terms before the radical. So we multiply 2 and 4. That is equal to 8. We copy the radical sign and its index, which is read as square root. Then we multiply the terms under the radical sign. So 3 times 15 is equal to 45. We now simplify 8 square root of 45. So we copy 8 square root of, then 45 has a perfect square factor, which is 9, to be multiplied by 5. We copy 8, get the square root of 9, that is equal to 3. So we have 8 times 3. Then copy square root of 5. We multiply 8 and 3, and the product is equal to 24. Then copy square root of 5. So the simplified product of 2 square root of 3 and 4 square root of 15 is 24 square root of 5. For our second example of our first case, we have 2 fourth root of 2 x cubed y squared multiplied by the fourth root of 8 x raised to 5 y raised to 7. We multiply the terms before the radical. So we have 2 times 1, and the product is equal to 2. We copy the radical sign and its index, and it is read as fourth root. Now we are going to multiply the terms under the radical sign. 2 times 8 is equal to 16. X raised to 3 times x raised to 5 is equal to x raised to 8. Y squared times y raised to 7 is equal to y raised to 9. We now apply the multiplication property of radicals. So we now write it as 2 times the fourth root of 16 times the fourth root of x raised to 8 times the fourth root of y raised to 9. We copy the term before the radical, and that is 2. We get the fourth root of 16, and the answer is 2. Times the fourth root of x raised to 8, which is equal to x squared, times the fourth root of y raised to 9, which is equal to y squared, fourth root of y. We get the product of 2 and 2, and the answer is 4. Times x squared times y squared, fourth root of y. Now we get the product of 4, x squared, and y squared, fourth root of y. And the answer is equal to 4 x squared, y squared, fourth root of y. Let's proceed to our second case, which is multiplying radicals when the indices are different and the radicals are the same. Here are the steps that you should follow. First, you write or transform the radicals to their fractional exponent form. Second step, apply the product rule. This is one of the laws of exponents, wherein if you are multiplying same base, then all you need to do is to copy the base, then add the exponents. Next step, rewrite the product as radical. And for the last step, you simplify the radical if necessary. For our first example, we get the product of cube root of x and fourth root of x. We now write cube root of x into its fractional exponent form. So our radicand, which is x, will become the base, and its exponent, which is 1, will become the numerator of our fractional exponent, and our denominator is our index, which is equal to 3, multiplied by the fractional exponent form of fourth root of x. So our radicand, which is x, will become our base. Its exponent, which is 1, will become the numerator of the fractional exponent, and the denominator is our index, which is 4. In here, we will now apply the product rule. So we copy the base, which is x, then we're going to add the exponents, which are 1/3 and 1/4. The LCD of 1/3 and 1/4 is 12. So 1/3 will become 4/12. And 1/4 will become 3/12. So we write it as x raised to 4/12 plus 3/12. If we will get the sum of 4/12 and 3/12, we will now have x raised to 7/12. Now we are going to rewrite the product as radical. We place the radical sign. X, which is our base, will now become our radicand. The numerator of our exponent, which is 7, will become the exponent of our radicand. And the denominator of our exponent, which is 12, will become the index. So the product of cube root of x and fourth root of x is equal to 12 root of x raised to 7. For our second example, we will have the fifth root of x squared y times the fourth root of x squared y. First, we are going to write these radicals into their fractional exponent form. So we start with the fifth root of x squared y, and it will be written as the product of x squared y raised to 1/5, multiplied by the fractional exponent form of fourth root of x squared y, which is written as the product of x squared y raised to 1/4. Notice that our bases are the same. So our next step is to apply the product rule. So we copy the base, which is the product of x squared y. Then we add the exponents. The LCD of 1/5 and 1/4 is 20. So 1/5 will now become 4/20. and 1/4 will become 5/20. We will now write it as the product of x squared and y raised to the quotient of the sum of 4 and 5 and 20. So that will now become the product of x squared and y raised to 9/20. We will now rewrite the product as radical. We now place the radical sign, then our index, which is 20, our radicand, which is the product of x squared and y, and its exponent, which is 9. Now we are going to simplify the 9th power of the product of x squared and y, and we are going to use the power of a product rule. The simplified form is the 20th root of x raised to 18, y raised to 9. For our third case, we have multiplying radicals when the indices and radicands are different. So here are the steps that you need to follow. First, you write or transform the radicals to their fractional exponent form. For our second step, you change the exponents into similar fractions. Next, you rewrite the product as radical. And for the last step, you simplify the radical if necessary. For our first example, we'll have the cube root of x squared multiplied by the 4th root of x cubed. So first, we are going to write these radicals into their fractional exponent form. And we will start with the cube root of x squared. And it is written as x raised to 2/3 times the fractional exponent form of 4th root of x cubed. And it is written as x raised to 3/4. Now we are going to change the exponents to similar fractions. And the LCD of 2/3 and 3/4 is 12. 2/3 will become 8/12. And 3/4 becomes 9/12. We now write it as x raised to the sum of 8/12 and 9/12, which is equal to x raised to 17/12. Now we rewrite this product into its radical form. So we write the radical sign, we write x as our radicand, 17 as the exponent of our radicand, and 12 as the index. Now we are ready to simplify our radical. Notice that the exponent of our radicand, which is 17, is greater than our index, which is 12. The simplified form of the product is x 12 root of x raised to 5. For our second example, we have the square root of 2x multiplied by the cube root of 3x squared. First, we are going to write the radicals in their fractional exponent form, and we start with the square root of 2x. It is written as the product of 2 and x raised to 1/2 times the fractional exponent form of cube root of 3x squared, which is written as the product of 3 and x squared raised to 1/3. We now change the exponents into similar fractions, and the LCD of 1/2 and 1/3 is 6. The exponent of 2x will now become 3 over 6. And for the exponent of 3x squared, it will now become 2 over 6. We now rewrite the product as radical. We now write our radical sign. 2x will become our radicand. 3 will become the exponent of our radicand, and 6 as our index. Times, we place again our radical sign. 3x squared will become our radicand. 2 will become the exponent of our radicand, and 6 will become our index. Now we are going to simplify each radical before we multiply them. For our first radical, we copy the 6th root, then we get the cube of 2, which is equal to 8. Then we get the cube of x, which is equal to x cubed. Let's proceed to our next radical. So we copy the 6th root, then we get the square of 3, which is equal to 9. And the square of x squared is equal to x raised to 4. So now we are ready to get the product of our transformed radicals. We copy the 6th root. 8 times 9 is equal to 72. X cubed times x raised to 4 is equal to x raised to 7. We can still simplify the radical by getting the 6th root of x raised to 7. So the simplified form now is equal to x 6th root of 72 x.